Hello, Donna D'Angelo here from the Institute of Christ Consciousness. We are now on installment 8 of the series, The Correcting Time. I've been talking about our emotional history, both from a planetary perspective as well as personal. Our experiences are based on the attitudes we convey when we are in certain life situations. The more positive our response or attitude to any life circumstance, the more positive becomes our emotional history. Now, one of the attitudes that we bring to our emotional history, or how we develop that, is a sense of love and understanding. Now, much of our emotional history from a planetary collective standpoint is not based on love. It's based on self-centered attitudes which breed war, conflict, and greed. And now we are in a time when this emotional history is being presented to us in a context to help us understand what has happened to this planet because of its deviation from the divine plan, to help us make better choices and to choose the way of love. Now, our emotional history has components to it. And one of the components that is very, very influential in our emotional history is the unconscious mind, where many memory patterns are stored based on the cultivation and the development of our attitudes in relationships and circumstances of life. As well, we also have a record of what you might call ancestral memories, the attitudes of our forebears who share their biologic inheritance with us, as well as some of their emotional history. Now, this is a very big thing to outwork, this emotional history. And one of the things that is so important about this time is that there is spiritual pressure to forgive the past and to see it through the lens of divine love that your spirit within is trying to convey to you. The subconscious mind is a very big pool or bandwidth of information. It creates certain memory behavior patterns that become locked into our body, so that when we are in certain circumstances, especially circumstances that we experience as either painful or harmful or scary, it creates a defensive mechanism within us, what you might call a knee-jerk reaction. And we don't even know that we're acting this way because the drivers are so deeply embedded within our emotional memory patterns that it's hard to see what we're doing at that moment. Sometimes after we have an adverse experience, we have to calm ourselves down in order for the spirit within to show us a better way of how to handle that situation. I'm sure many of you have had that experience where you've had a destructive experience with a person or a life circumstance, and then after a little while, perhaps maybe a day or so, some information comes to your conscious awareness of how to handle the situation in a better way. This is a spirit within helping you see what you could do to respond more positively. Now, this can be challenging when the emotional memory is so traumatic and a person doesn't have a spiritual basis to understand the context in which this emotional memory developed. But the spirit within has the record of all that and is waiting to help you see beyond the painful experience so that you can view the experience with more objectivity. As well, our mother and father of spirit are here to share with you their parental love, to hold you in a space of their love and compassion, to support your emotional recoding of that experience. What I've seen in doing the healing work that I've conducted for many years is that there is a charge, if you will, of forgiveness that breaks up the emotional feeling of negativity, whether it's anger or fear or doubt or anxiety. And it infuses the forgiveness into that pattern so that it renders the human awareness, the mind, with greater information of what happened in that experience, along with the divine parents seeding you with love and compassion so that understanding comes from that perspective. Over time, the emotional history is outworked, as the spirit within now has the ability to convey a greater perspective of how you can proceed through your life, through all the experiences that you have, and through the relationships that you have through a higher lens. Now, this is not something that happens overnight, and it is also part of our human responsibility to take charge of our spiritual development. And when we do this, we get so much help to outwork this emotional history of trauma, fear, and pain and separation, so that we stand in the deeper value and validation of who we are as children of God. And this dynamic is happening now on a planetary-wide basis. The collective emotional history of our world is now opening up to this dynamic of transformational healing, so that each person, whether or not they are consciously aware that this dynamic is now pressing on the emotional history of each individual to help them open to the presence of spirit. Because the presence of God within doesn't want you to live in fear and want. Your divine birthright is to live in love, in peace, and to cultivate your God-given gifts and talents to become the person you have been created to become. And as I said, during this correcting time, this is a very intense time of emotional healing that is not only going into our own subconscious or deeper unconscious levels of mind to heal our own personal emotional history, but to also heal the emotional history that our ancestors have experienced. This is a type of generational healing that we conduct here at the Institute of Christ Consciousness to help you release the past and to stand in the beauty and the goodness and the validation of your status as a child of divine birthright. And your divine birthright is to grow into who you are and to come into that greater context of who you are in relationship to the great design and the great plan of ascension for all life here on this world. So I'm going to end this here and just share with you that we are here to support you and to facilitate sessions for you if you need that helping hand to outwork your own emotional history. And if this is something that appeals to you, please contact us. We would be very happy to assist you to step into the bigger context of your life, that you can outwork all that is holding you back from achieving your true purpose for being here. Thank you for being with me, and I hope this information has been helpful. And we will be going into a little bit more about how the emotional history is healed in our next installment. I look forward to sharing that with you. So bye-bye for now, and may God bless you and prosper you on your journey to Christ consciousness.